We'll call the meeting to order. Roll call. Andrew Lorenz is present. Kyle Campbell.
Present.
Kurt Hadley.
Yes.
All right. Consent agenda, which will include the meeting minutes from June 10, 2025, the June financial reports, fund report, bank statement, bank reconciliation, our accounts payable docket for July 8, 2025, and utility adjustments, if any, are presented. You guys have an opportunity to read through all that.
Yes.
Any questions? Questions or concerns, Janet?
No, I just want to point out that the accounts payable docket totals $40,557.63. And your utility adjustment, there is one, it's for $88.20. Can I answer any questions about any of the reports?
All right, since we all read through everything, motion to approve it. Second. All in favor? Aye.
Done.
Next up, we'll move on to public comments for the non-agenda items. We're asking for a 3-minute limit per speaker, and this is again on a non-agenda item. So if anybody have anything they wish to discuss that isn't on the agenda this evening, we'll start there. Okay. Moving on, department reports, Park Advisory Board update and pavilion project.
All started here. Everybody can see it started today, project, and we'd like to cordially invite everybody here. Welcome to come down tonight at 7:30 after this meeting. We're gonna have a short ceremonial. There's nothing fancy about it. We just kind of want to get a picture and kick off social media. Kurt, for words right now, can talk about that. Bob Cox, with Aaron in the picture, email to him, and he may get a hold of so I comments or whoever wants to speak on behalf of the town. So information you might want to put with that. Project started. Good.
So what little I know is I've been in touch with IEDC. There were a few things missing from what I had sent them with that initial invoice. They should have it all now. I did not hear back from them today. And I also see that we've got a new person taking the helm at IEDC, or an executive director position, originally from Montgomery County and from Wingate. So hopefully that's good. I reached out to him as well this morning to bump him to say, hey, what's the status? Because I want to make sure that we get that first invoice from FBI and from Biddle moving along. So I'm hoping to hear something tomorrow. I was hoping to hear something before the end of the day today, but that's what we know. But at this point, I don't think we've got any hiccups. It's just a matter of crossing all the T's and, crossing all the I's and dotting all the T's and, whatever, just to make sure that everything's on the straight and narrow. So I think no news is good news.
What's the name for that new person that is from Wingate that's serving?
Hang on. I just had an email from him this morning. Rich or Richard Michael. So I guess his dad was a doctor, and yeah. So he's been at Purdue. He just recently took this job on. So I don't know whose job he took. I just saw it somehow with some of the things that I'm on lists with Reddy. I got an email this morning and it came from him. So I reached out to him directly and copied the folks that have been administrating the grant saying, what's my status? So at any rate, that's what I know. So if we got nothing more on that, I'm just going to give Tyler's quick update on the ball fields this year. So for 2025, there were 6 baseball teams, 1 softball team, 46 games at the park, including 5 tournament games. Tyler's estimating over 3,000 people were at the park for all of those games. 12U baseball team was the runner-up in the tournament. 10U team was undefeated all season and was the tournament champions. Both 8U baseball teams won their first tournament game but lost in the quarterfinals. Overall, obviously, it was a very successful year. They've got several projects planned for the off-season, partnering with McCord Electric to repair scoreboards and lights, more line to both fields, paint the dugouts, improve the pitcher's mound on the bid field. The booster organization would like to hold 8 summer fall practices for the kids to continue their development, and this would start in July and go through October. So the one other thing that I did get from Tyler this afternoon, we do have a QR code and a link set up that will go directly into their accounts, so that once we put this groundbreaking out on social media or whatever, I can basically take that same picture or image that we've got there, I can put that out, share that link so people know that if they choose to donate, this would go directly to the booster organization, which then goes to the Montgomery County Community Foundation, which then we would have access to. So those things are all in place and set up. And that's all I've got.
Anything else for the park? Okay.
One question we get from up today from Biddle when I talked to him. Currently, the electrical box located somewhere out there.
It's at the pavilion, and the side of the pavilion, the small one, next to the concession stand.
Well, I told him, in my opinion, we probably want to have everything centralized to rebuild. Is that correct?
Bill and I talked about that a couple weeks ago, and I told him we talked about making a splice and putting a box there to where they can come back out and rebuild it. That feeds the ball park lights and some of that stuff, so we can set a quasi box there and tie those together in there, and everything be inside the building.
Gotcha.
Okay.
I told him to ask somebody on the park board these things.
I told him that's my assumption that I should make sense.
Tell them to go with it. Do it.
You're up next, Jay.
You want to thank everything coming in. Okay. Now it's like what we passing down. So, first thing you'll have there is an invoice from me where we went to the gas station and uncovered that meter multiple times and repaired it a couple times. So we fixed it again now. The new lid, new ring, and new pin in. So that's a bill for that. I'm asking you guys to make a motion that Susie bills the gas station for all that work to reimburse your money.
That's what we talked about at the last meeting was.
Yeah.
Having it build the area.
I so move.
Yeah. I'll make a motion to do it.
Second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Hang on just a sec, guys. And the idea was just to attach this, we're gonna include a bill in his monthly bill.
Yes, this is his responsibility, as he has been covering it up and playing difficult. And, yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, the second thing you'll have is your bid for your home. You guys want to proceed? That's the bid. So you guys need to sign it. It can happen probably late July. We also need to come up with some kind of idea. If we're just going to put sand back in there, we need to protect ourselves, put something up there so people can't drive in there, park in there. If they damage the car,
Do we have any barriers? Do you have any old barriers or anything?
come up with something.
Yeah.
What happened to him being here a week ago?
One was somebody needed to do this in a public meeting. Two, he's getting a study done. Three, he has another job that he's starting and didn't know that he could get it done before he had to start that job. So
Also, we don't have an appropriation, so we need to get that done as well.
Exactly. That's the next part. We gotta figure out where that money's coming from.
Okay. And we're taking care of the appropriations a little bit later on.
Yeah, what's the dollar amount?
$23,220.
Will you say that again?
23220.00.
Thank you.
We need to come up with a plan tonight, because this will happen before the next meeting. We got blocked out. So that puts them under a T-post and cable across there, or what?
That'd be the cheapest route for now, honestly.
Anything else?
We'll need a motion to go forward.
Oh, I'll make a motion, move forward.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Good, Janet.
Yeah, I have it.
Troy, you're up.
Don't have a lot to report. The wastewater treatment plant, we decided to continue. So in the summer, we fight the algae a lot. So where I start to pass the tests that I failed in the winter, I start to fail some because the algae grew up in the summer. So there was a couple small violations, not as bad as what we had. So that's what I'm doing.
Are those IDEM violations?
Yes. That's the other things that are on very smoothly.
For the time being. Yeah, knock on wood, yeah. All right, you're done, Troy. Darren?
Good evening. Pretty short and sweet report. Last month, Wolf Creek ran 13 calls for service. 10 were EMS related, 3 were fire related. 9 of them were in the Wingate addressing. 3 were in the lot. We helped them with big green fire over there. And 1 was a medical assist with our friends in Madison Township, which is Linden. Year to date, 101 total calls, which puts us about a month and a half to 2 months, solid 2 months ahead of our normal average. So, but, yeah. The other thing I wanted to mention is, and I don't know if it's on the agenda, I tried to look, not that fast. Tractor show is going to be coming up the first weekend in August. We'll have an organization meeting, I think, on the 15th. But all systems appear to be go for the tractors on Saturday, the cars on Sunday, street corning, concessions, both days from the fire department. They get paperwork for people to sign for the part with their insurance writer and all that stuff. Like we usually do.
You got flyers for that yet? I know we did for the car
Yes.
show, but
For the purpose.
okay.
But we'll get some.
Okay.
Back up around here.
Jared, you're up.
All right. One other quick thing. Park board. You guys want to put together some sort of an array of what's going on? I don't know how much that building's going to be done by then, but something to put up there. We did that a couple of years ago when this project first started. I think it'd be nice. I don't know who actually did that.
Bruce and Mindy, I think, you and Mindy, or Sandy and Mindy.
So you guys can do that. It's okay with the town to kind of show what's happening, what's shaking. I can do that really through.
I'm sorry, I don't really understand. What did you just ask for?
Posters and
Posters.
information on.
Okay.
The things we had sitting up here that first year of it.
The posters.
Yes.
The original, like the map and
It is a
the,
little bit better.
the
than
trail.
posters there, Janet, but,
Yeah. I was just bringing it down for a little bit.
I got you. Had to bring it to red and love.
Jared, you're up.
All right. Anybody hasn't noticed the 2 speed signs are up? They look good. Thanks, Dave. Look good.
We like them. Yeah.
The sheriff's mobile trailer, radar trailer is on the north side of town on 25. I'll be getting the survey results for that next month. See traffic. 32 calls for service in June. I had 3 notice of ordinance violation letters sent out. I heard from one of the residents at 207 North Line about the vehicle. They are getting those to be 202 North Main Cross, and 108. And then what?
Well, we know one of them, Wells got. We know that for sure. We know Anthony got the one.
Yes.
That was returned, but I know he got one. Yes.
They contacted
The
me.
other one, they denied it, so.
And I think that was all right.
Anytime we can work with the budget, another sign that you do going out of town. So they're asking to stay on part of my minutes.
Honestly, your budget, you could afford to do it.
One more or two more?
You can afford it because you can buy it on a public safety list. You actually have a lot of.
Those-
So the only reason on that, we did two
Yes,
more, we put one back on Boston.
Yeah, you could do that.
There is
The only
a
thing is
court
you
date
can't,
coming up for.
Right,
But-
but we could.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. You could go ahead.
We'll get two more. Speed sign,
Absolutely.
order two more. Well, I'll make a motion to order two
I
more.
second it.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good.
Are you guys good with the one that similar to what we have? Or-
Yeah, that's fine. We'll do the
Actually,
same thing.
I'd like photo enforced, so we have, some teeth, but
And then we gotta confirm Bussy to get the tolls and all that again. So,
And that would be paid from public safety lit. I may have to add that to the additional appropriation advertisement, but there are funds in there.
Okay.
So all in favor?
Are you thinking about?
put one on that back road.
State roads, or you want to do it?
No, not State Road, and then what you were talking about. Yeah,
It's a never ending battle, I get it.
kind of just the whole perimeter of the town, try to cover it.
anything else, Jared? Good. All right. Now we'll move on to old business. Do we have any additional on the Park Community Center Pavilion project ready and grant updates?
I think we covered that.
Great. Water, wastewater, stormwater master planning grant study update.
Keegan Dunn with HWC is here. I believe he brought you a full-size book and materials. Keegan, go ahead. If you'd like to stand up and introduce yourself.
So I'm Keegan Dunn with HWC Engineering. So yeah, we've been putting together the master utility plan, part of the planning grant. The report is complete. So that's what I've brought you here today. Basically, we just need authorization to submit this to Okra. So there's a deadline to submit to Okra at the end of this month. Basically, the handout I gave to you is a summary of what's in the report. It's just a much more condensed version. Essentially, we evaluated all three utilities. We developed needs for each utility, and then came up with a recommended project for each utility. So for the water project, basically it's electrical improvements at the well house, new remote monitoring system, new pressure transducer, read the levels in the tank, and a portable backup generator. Removing the wax lining interior of the elevated storage tank and replacing it with an epoxy coating. Replacing all the galvanized water mains and service lines in town. So the total estimated cost for that project is $1,064,000. I'll come back to kind of the funding, but the wastewater project, same thing, developed a list of needs, met with town staff to kind of develop those needs and evaluate the system. So the recommended project was to replace the existing ductile iron gravity sewer mains that are still in the system, the collection system, replace the pumps at the west lift station, replace all of the existing air release valves and clean outs on the force main from the west lift station to the wastewater treatment plant, and to build basically a new Aeromod. It's a package mechanical plant, and basically in place of the current lagoons, and then basically do a clean closure of those lagoons. So total estimated cost for the wastewater project is $4,779,000. The stormwater, basically, after talking with town staff, the decision was made to sort of focus on maybe some lower cost alternatives for the stormwater, improved drainage on Garfield and Wabash and Vine Street, with basically some new curbs and improved swales along Vine and Garfield and Wabash. So that project's only estimated to be $85,000. Thought was that could potentially be paid for out of local funds, out of the utility funds. There are more extensive stormwater projects that are further evaluated in the report, but they're much more expensive. And the thought was those could very well exceed the available grant amount. So that's why we kind of landed on maybe do some smaller improvements and see how that helps before jumping into something a little bit larger. So at the end of this handout, there's an anticipated project schedule. This is just kind of something that we developed talking with Mike Klein-Peter, the grant administrator, kind of strategizing how we could fund this thing. So essentially, right now, we need to submit the master utility study to Okra for their review. They take typically, I think, 30 to 60 days for their review. Once they've completed their review, we need to hold a public hearing for the master utility plan. So looking at September or so. So with the wastewater project, essentially, the thought was that due to the cost of the project, it would best be to go after a state revolving fund loan, obviously supplemented with an Okra grant. The only hiccup is they've kind of changed how they do the Okra grants when you're getting a state revolving fund loan. They require you to submit the grant application the December or round 2 every year. The problem is this is not on SRS project priority list. To get on that list, you have to submit the report for their review by April. So this could potentially be submitted to SRF next April, get on the project priority list, and then December of 2026, the town could apply for an Okra grant, wastewater grant at that time. Usually it takes about 2 months to hear back on that. Because you do have needs in the water too, there is a potential to potentially leapfrog the wastewater project if you wanted to get the water project done ahead of the wastewater project. So if you jump down there where it says water project timeline, essentially, in order to get everything done, design and everything, by the time we'd have to bid, which would be next October, basically we'd have to start design somewhere around April. And then the grant, we could submit a grant application for the water project in round 1 of 2026. So June of 2026, submit to Okra for a grant for the water project. The only stipulation is Okra won't give a grant unless you're in construction on the other project. So you can't have 2 Okra grants open at the same time. So as I said, the timeline has to kind of stack up, similar to what we've shown here. Basically bid the project and have it in construction. So contractor under contract by December when you submit your Okra grant application for the wastewater project. That's just an option. And that's kind of how we laid out this schedule. So yeah, basically, we just request that you give us authorization to submit this to Okra and kind of get the ball rolling on their review. And it may be a good idea to go ahead and engage the financial advisor and kind of get a rate analysis for the recommended projects. Basically, I outlined it in the email that I sent to you, but essentially, looking at a couple different funding scenarios for each project. One for the wastewater project, it would be, say you get an Okra grant and you go and get an SRF loan, what that rate would be. Say you don't get an Okra grant and it's just that's all SRF loan, what that rate would be. And then for the water projects, you're basically just looking if you have a grant or you don't have a grant, what the rate impact would be. That's kind of it. And I'm here to answer questions if anybody's got them.
So our next step is, because the report was paid for through an Okra grant, is initially just you're requesting permission to submit the study and the results as you presented to us tonight.
Correct.
So that's your first piece.
I don't see any reason that we should move that up, do you? At least letting them take it forward to Okra.
Yeah, I'll make a motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved to submit.
All right, so the next deal is the assumption is that, of course, right now it doesn't seem like it, but we are under a tremendous cloud with IDEM. So I know you looked at all three areas, water, wastewater, and stormwater, that are the most expensive one, of course, is wastewater, and that's because that's where our largest problems are located. So, Troy, you want to talk to what, if we take no action, what will happen with IDEM?
So if you guys remember, I don't know how long ago it was, but originally we're going to put us under enforcement. And then, so I had this conversation 2 weeks ago with our inspector, to where they thought we were getting a construction grant when we did this. And that's why they did not pursue enforcement. I wasn't proceeding at the time, it was just a planning grant that we're still 3-4 years away from being complete. And so he seemed to think with our violations that we would probably be put in enforcement. I still don't think that's a bad thing. He would probably speak that. I think that will help us secure funding, put us higher on that priority list. And then once we do, the next thing is going to be enforcement. And then with enforcement, we're going to have to create a compliance plan that says, how are you going to get back in to passing all your tests and doing everything? And they're going to give us some leeway and amount of time to do that. So we just need to be thinking about it. It's going to happen.
Right.
What if we don't do anything? What will happen? What does IDEM do if the town does nothing?
We go to enforcement.
Most likely, IDEM would ask the town enter into an agreed order, essentially, like what Troy was saying. Basically provide an action plan on how the town's going to address the issues or violations. With that, you typically provide some sort of schedule for compliance.
So how do we get into compliance? What's the easiest way to get into compliance?
Well, that's sort of what the report talks about, is essentially you've got effluent violations is a big one. And the capacity of the plant is sort of limited right now, due in large part to the sludge buildup in the lagoons. So to address those issues, you kind of have several different options. One of the alternatives is basically replace what you have So putting floating aerator or something, cleaning out all the sludge in the lagoons, and basically installing some sort of ammonia polishing unit to basically help get your ammonia violations under control. BOD would be handled with better aeration, essentially getting no aeration right now. So that's kind of one option. You could go with and then the package plant, which is the recommended plan. It's a mechanical plant, so it'd be a little bit different process than what you have now, or it would be a different process than what you have now. But looking at long-term, maintenance and operation costs, it seems like it's going to be cheaper to go the package plant route, get rid of the lagoons, and then you kind of have a working system at that point. You've addressed the capacity issue. You're going to be meeting effluent limits.
So when you say the most affordable, or that's the $4.5 million option.
But that includes everything. That's if you do everything. The lift station,
So yeah, the
mains.
the needs of the entire system. Yes, that's a total wastewater project.
This still only has us dealing with liquid waste, correct?
Our gray water.
Right.
Right. It's
Just
not
want to
even,
make sure that
no
was
solids.
clear. Just want to make sure that was
we're
clear.
not doing solid treatments.
Correct.
Can you imagine if we were managing solid? 12 million. So again, submission of the study to Okra, and then we probably need to talk to Mike Kleinpeter about how to follow up. The requirement on a financial advisor, is there, can RCAP do the kind of financial advisory that they need, or is this something that has to be an accountant? Does this have to meet a federal standard? Or
No, not necessarily. Really, you just need some sort of analysis to say, with this project cost, the utility's current budget, what's the rate impact going to be for these different scenarios?
Okay.
Just to be clear, what do you mean by solid waste?
We just talked about it.
Well,
So all of our homes have septic tanks.
oh, sure, yeah.
So all we're moving
Right.
is gray water into the lagoons.
Correct.
All of the solids are being retained at each physical.
Right, yes, yeah.
I just want to make sure that was on record, that this was not moving us to that point. No, I knew it was.
Okay. I've asked all my questions.
Yeah, I will say that, Jay, we sat down with Keegan. They looked at every alternative, even running a line to Wingtown, to New Richmond.
Yes, the report did look at regionalization with both Waynestown and New Richmond. Those project costs, just because of the length of force main, the size of the lift stations, you're going to have to redo somebody's plant anyway. You're talking, it's in the report, $15–16 million project. So ultimately, those were not evaluated any further.
They were just simply too impractical. So we have a motion and a second to allow submission of the report. And Keegan, you handle that, or Eric handles that for us?
Yep. So I will send it to Mike Kleinpeter, and he will submit it to Okra. And like I said, I think it's a 30 to 60 day window they have to do it.
So then we will hear back from Okra 30 to 60 days from now.
So yeah, they'll send comments. I'm not sure if they'll send them to Klein Peter, to myself, but then we'll address whatever comments there are. And then, like I said, then there'll need to be a public hearing to formally present the project, or to submit the study.
Do you guys have anything else that you want to ask again?
I don't.
So we have one physical copy that contains what's in here. It looks awfully big.
Yeah, so a lot of it's, there's an appendix, we have all your MROs in there. There's some correspondence with different entities. But basically, the report is broken into kind of like a summary section. It goes into your existing system, has a section on the, talks about the needs, and then for each utility. And then there's a section that it's an evaluation of alternatives. So we went through several alternatives for each utility, evaluated those, and then there's a section that goes into how we selected the recommended project for each utility, and then sort of a recommendation section at the end that kind of summarizes everything. It's a little bit more in-depth version of what this handout is. And that's kind of the components of the report. So Okra is very specific on how you have to prepare these reports. Basically, we have to break them out into those sections because that's what it requires.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So we'll maintain this copy here, and
And if you need a digital copy, I can provide a digital copy.
is the digital copy ADA compliant? Sorry, we have this problem with our website that every document that goes up on our website must be ADA compliant. It has to get all of the points.
Which is why our website is not up yet.
Yes. We're studying that too,
You're asking if it's ADA compliant?
the report.
The digital version.
I don't know what it means to be ADA compliant.
We didn't.
So the answer is no.
Okay,
I mean,
so
that's easy enough.
probably
I mean,
not. Okay.
which means we would love to have a digital copy,
Understood.
but we can't put it up or attach it to our website because it's not compliant.
Understood.
But a digital copy would not be a bad idea for review.
We'd still like to have a digital copy so we're not reliant on paper.
And
Yeah.
I can provide that.
Digital copy would be great.
Or on a shared drive or a cloud drive, because it's going to be huge. I mean, I'm looking at that. I don't know.
You could put all that as a file.
Yeah.
Okay.
We can.
Well, we can really test our mailbox size on the website.
Okay. Yes,
So-
we do want that.
And just so you're clear, I mean, it is a draft, so if Oprah comes out with comments and we do revisions, obviously we'd update the report and get that to you.
Absolutely.
Is there any help that the Montgomery County Sewer District would be involved in this project? To establish regional sewer districts back to Hook, Newport, and Sugar Hollow, and all of them, southern part of Montgomery County, to help with other communities might have sewer issues. I don't know. It's been a while since I've been on the board.
We'll hit them up.
I think we definitely need to lean on it.
It wouldn't
Yeah.
hurt to ask Montgomery County.
And not that we can do anything about this, but there's also a cum rate for sewers available, which is something I thought we'd talk about next January, depending on what this ends up looking like overall. So. Keegan, I think you can go home now,
All right.
right?
Yeah.
Very well.
Okay, you don't want him afterwards.
You guys got questions afterwards?
No, you're good, bud.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Keegan, thank you.
You are released.
Well, let's see, next up
That
is
takes it
websites.
into websites. So the short answer on all of that is I've been working with the folks that Janet put me in touch with to just have access to our email.
Domain,
They can't figure out why we don't have access to the email.
like you can't.
Right. They've set it up, but somehow there's security that I'm not passing through, and they had to have been the ones that set that security up. Now, this will make, I think, my 5th Google account that I am managing, but that shouldn't matter.
You should see my Google array. But honestly, I will tell you, and I'm sadly slightly amused, only because I struggled with them as well over and over. And I was embarrassed because I just could not seem to climb over that wall. And it took about a month for them to figure out what was wrong, even with me, with just setting up the admin. So when it looked like it was going to be so easy, I thought, and then it's not.
It's access to an account. It's not difficult. They just have to figure out what they've done. But somebody's got to spend the time. So the other part of that is, I don't think it makes sense for us to stand up our town website and make that public until we have access to those emails, because what I don't want is the 3 of us or anybody else getting emails that we don't have access to by putting up that website. So my first push is to make sure that we get that email accessible.
Don't worry, my phone number's on there.
I get it.
I got your back.
But once we do that, we can at least get the website up, and then you and I, Janet, can work on the ADA and all of that, because that's why we've not fooled with the flyers or anything like that, because they all have to be scrutinized and run through the ADA process. So we can put them on Facebook until the cows come home, but we just can't put them up on our website.
So that's where that stands. But again, we're working on it, and eventually, someday soon. Okay.
Told you about the TDS.
So
They said we're pretty much good and we could stream as much as we want. If we have any problems, get a hold of them, and then they'll go from there.
all right, so at your last meeting, you had a question about the draft policy on remote participation in meetings. So item 6 simply says that the public has to be able to have access. It does not indicate that they can comment. So this is hard to say out loud when you're having a public meeting, and in this community, you administer your public meetings like town hall meetings, but technically you're not required to. The open door law was written in such a way that the public are welcome to observe your actions, but they really don't. It's not like a convention or a caucus. So the same thing is true on the website. They can observe what you're doing, but you don't have to open it up for comments. All you're doing with that remote access policy is making sure that Kurt, when he's in Vancouver or New Jersey, if we're having a meeting, he can dial in and participate. The exclusion would be he can't vote on budgets or any serious or long term. We could discuss policies. The fact that the 2 of you are present, you can take action on most everything, with the exception of Kyle cannot take action on additional appropriations or budgets because of his status as a volunteer firefighter serving the town of Wingate. So you have that little complexity, but so far we haven't had any issues, really. I mean,
No,
Kurt's been on since last spring, so you've been on a year or more now, and we really haven't encountered any problems. But do you see what I mean? So I understand what stopped you, but there is no requirement that we
basically,
take comments or that there's pauses.
the town just needs to be able to observe from remoting. If we if Kurt is working or one of us, for whatever reason, are working remotely, they don't need to have a commentary or anything like that while we're doing this.
No.
So if that's all that the statute states, I'm good with that.
So I have the original of that. And again, it's a policy statement. It's not an ordinance. You could amend your policy statement, literally you can amend an ordinance anytime. So, so that if you want to go ahead and adopt the policy tonight as presented, or if you want to table it for one more meeting, it's not urgent by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So,
Motion that we adopted as is.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
all right.
Motion accepted, policy adopted.
Please, everybody sign.
You can cross that off the list.
We're just signing the top copy.
Which is good because we'll have our next meeting on the 5th. I will be out of town.
Well, the 19th would be ideal for me, actually.
That works for me.
It's not,
I will be out of town.
Doesn't work for him.
Anyway,
Doesn't matter to me.
I can remote in.
okay.
There it was. I just said the 5th because it was first.
Well,
Well,
I will say Susie's preference is the 5th. And I'm fine either way. She has a conflict on the 19th. So if we do it on the 5th, then we'll have all of your bills paid and everything square. All right, so we'll go back to that. Thank you. And then the next item of business is the proposed materiality threshold resolution. And this is really truly housekeeping, guys. We were supposed to adopt a threshold ordinance in 2015, 2016. The town did not do it, and we just need to have it on the books. This is not, so the threshold that I'm proposing is 2,500. It seems high, but just want to reassure you that the theft of $1 is reportable. This is only about transactions. So a check that should have been put in is not in. We're out of balance on our bank rec, which, by the way, none of these things have happened since we've been here. But
We're required to have this, I guess.
well, the other thing is if we don't have it, technically under the law, if we had a variance of $1, we have to call the State Board of Accounts and send them a report every day until that variance is resolved. I don't think you want to be sending reports to the State Board of Accounts for $1. But if $2,500 is in variance, I'm more than happy. I'll call them myself. So it really is, it's just admin. So is there a motion to approve the proposed materiality threshold resolution?
Second it, all in favor?
So I got Kurt.
Aye.
Kurt, Andrew, all in favor?
Yep.
Approved. Okay, here's the next one. Please sign.
Cross that one. American Legal Codification Status Report.
My eyes are crossed. You've seen some of the ordinances and
I
the
have.
drafts I've sent you. I'm still working on it. God love Jay. He's been reading my stuff. I would like, you'll notice under other business, I'm asking for a special meeting just for codification sometime in this month or next month, where we just do page by page, you and me. Doors open if anybody else wants to enjoy the joys of codification. But still working on it, making progress. I don't know if you read some of the ordinances that I sent out and if you had opinions about, we didn't have tampering. we probably need to name it. Kurt, stop. Okay, anyway, that's your status on conservation.
Recording hall, we've got, debris cleanup update. I know last month we motioned to get that ball moving and all agreed to make it happen. You got the paperwork signed now?
Mhm.
Okay,
Well, no. We have to sign it.
I didn't realize that we had to do that
We have the original.
when we motioned, but that's all right. We'll
Well,
get-
so you got the original?
We have the original, Jay, on the quote. You gave me the original.
I have the original.
Okay.
It doesn't look any different than the one you've got.
It doesn't.
So I heard something about towards the end of the month, I saw something about the 20th. Are we gonna have a date for them to be in town if we sign this?
Buzzy?
He's at his job until the week of the 20th, 21st. He thought he could be here somewhere in the 22nd to the 24th.
I think we just need him to commit.
Be nice to have it done before we have a seat for it.
Who's that?
The same job will be completed within 3 to 5 days after utility verification.
I'm sorry, what was your question?
Who's it that's in charge of cleaning it up?
Well, we are ultimately.
Well, I mean, who are you hiring?
Walden,
Walden.
yeah.
So he's not gonna put a bucket through our wall?
He shouldn't even be close to your building since you guys got everything scooted out. You know what I mean? Should be golden on that one.
Thank you guys.
You good with it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
long overdue. Let's get it done.
So are there meeting minutes from your special meeting?
What, you recorded them?
No, the one I wasn't at.
Oh, with, Stu. I thought you had a recorder or something.
No.
No.
I have to look and see if I took any notes. What day was that?
We talked about
June.
checking the title against any liens that may have been on the owner. Stu was gonna take that action. He was gonna do a title company search for us.
I think it was the 7th,
Yeah,
May 7th?
it was
No,
the,
June
it
7th.
was the 18th of June. Was our special meeting.
18th of June.
18th of June, I got it sitting right here.
Okay.
So can they ultimately find out who owns the property? And that's still-
It's still a toss-up between the original and then the one that bought it.
But,
Who refuses to pick up the,
Yeah.
because
which creates a mountain of red tape for us to get it cleaned up, which is why it hasn't happened yet.
Right. But at the end, I felt bad for you guys having the, you know what I mean, and everybody in town looking at it. Let's just get her done.
How much is the quote? How much is the quote?
23,220.
you could just do a memorandum, just bullet points. Who was there, what you talked about, what you
I've got
decided.
attendance. I'll have to go back through and decide if I need to take any notes.
And we sent out an email with some action.
I got some. We should go take it from there.
Okay.
We talked about the property.
The thing is that if we, and you obviously are going to take some action, try to recover the money, you're going to have those
Oh.
notes from that meeting. So
Wasn't
that-
Diana taking notes? I thought she was, yeah.
I mean, that's why I
I
did.
knew somebody was.
Okay,
We had talked about it.
Okay.
good deal.
All
Do
right.
you know offhand what the other two quotes were, who they were from, and the amount of them?
You remember what those were, Bessie?
Well, I have, one of them's from well, most people won't give a quote because the action's been taken.
Right. And I think the one from, yeah, I think the highest was like 70 something and the other one was around 48 or 49. Yeah.
Let's see, so that's the debris cleanup, update on enforcement actions or cleanup progress.
Jared.
You have any updates from Stu?
The court date for the initial hearing for the project.
Yes, and on that date, are you going to be there or how did,
I'll have to rearrange my sky. I have active shooter training, supposed to be from 8 to noon, and then go training.
okay, so one of us needs to be there in your place.
If that's possible.
Okay, well, because when the request came out, we had some questions about it and,
Or if he's able to do that or reschedule it.
okay.
That day. I would go.
And are they, I've been to different courts before, but is it pretty regimented and is there like morning, afternoon type deal where they let us know
It's
when it is?
slotted for a 30-minute hearing, and it's your full two.
Okay,
From 11 to 11:30.
from 11 to 11:30. Okay, so I already know the time slot. Okay. Because I can make arrangements at work to be there.
So you'll be there representing the town, so
I can.
Jared doesn't have to be
I
there.
can free Jared, so. And that's the 29th.
Yeah.
I just need an address and some directions.
Yeah, I'll-
Yeah.
I'll do that.
All right. Yep. Somebody down. Somebody down. Jersey. Okay, water tower equipment.
No update. I still haven't had the little monkey man climb it yet, but we're just gonna go above the ladder and climb it. And then we can,
State water.
that was one of them, right? Yeah, okay,
But that's one of them, but
Right.
there's several of them up there.
The other county is Richmond, Richmond, Indiana. That's who I got my internet at.
right. Well, we won't mess with yours.
Just cut the wires. We'll know when they come on.
But yeah, I'll try to get a hold of him, see if he still wants to do it or not.
I got Richmond.
Okay, yeah, I'll grab it from you afterwards or in between meetings or whatever.
All right, and then the last old business is credit card payment system agreement, PayGov.
So we're waiting for the website.
Okay.
I mean, if you guys are okay, and I think Susie's got everything that we need, but to me, it just makes sense at this point to go forward with PayGov.
I would, if you wouldn't mind just reaching out to Susie and you guys coordinate that, because PayGov's going to have to get with her to get banking information and some other stuff that I'm not familiar with.
I'll add that to the action list.
Okay.
All right. Moving on to new business, proposed additional appropriations. I know that we need to ask for additional appropriations to cover some of the,
So, in the memo, I explained that we have some funds where we have just overexpended, or line items that we've overexpended, or I'm projecting that we will overexpend, and we have the cash in the fund, and I like to be safe and have the appropriations. We do not have any money appropriated for this project that's been accepted tonight, the 23,000. So, the draft additional appropriation that I showed you or sent you was based on what I was guessing, somewhere between, I came up with $22,000. Actually, Susie came up with another 3,000 today. So, depending on when your August, well, because you can't vote, so we'll go ahead and you're going to spend the money out, but we're going to have to either have a special meeting for just the adoption of the public hearing and the adoption of the additional appropriation, or we'll have to put it off until your September meeting. So,
because Kurt won't be here for the August meeting.
right, and I have to have you two have to be present in order to vote on that.
Can we put forth, the group will put request for additional appropriations tonight, and then knowing it'll be September, address it then?
Sure.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we put forth the additional appropriations this evening to be voted upon in September, when said numbers can be voted. Second.
So what I'll do is I will draft up, and as I do this, once I send it, I will draft the additional appropriation notice. It has to be advertised in the newspaper. It has to be in the newspaper 11 days before your public hearing. So it'll be sent to them in August. By that time, we'll have, actually, your September meeting is the introduction of your 2026 budget. So timing couldn't actually be any better. So that actually works really well. Okay.
Sure.
All right.
Now we move on. Are we good there?
We are. So your August meeting, we agreed that it's going to be the 5th of August.
You go to that? That way Susan's here, the bills will be paid, all that.
Either one works for me. I don't care.
You'll be remote regardless. So,
Okay.
Is August 5th what we decide?
yeah.
All right.
Okay, so we've agreed on that. And then for codification, I know you guys met on a Saturday to go through the code book. I don't know if you want to do that. I know that you spend a lot of time. I know that Wingate takes up a lot of time for very little or virtually no money at all. So you want to so maybe the August 5th meeting, I can have a summary of the draft ordinances that I will send as I complete them. And I'll continue working with American Legal. And if you think at the August 5th meeting it's too much, then we should then probably schedule a dedicated meeting just for that.
That's fine.
So you're good with that idea? Okay. All right. So I can do that. So I will advance that project. All right. We are at the end of the agenda. Now you're to task list.
So the only things I've got so far, and this is Jay, I've got you just coordinating with Walden on Gordon Hall. Jared, I've got you ordering 2 more of our speed signs, getting those in. I'm going to work on getting email access, and then hopefully once we get that, obviously I'll get it out to everybody here, and then we'll work on getting the website up and at least, public. And then Janet and I will work on the ADA training so we can get documents or whatever else up on the website. I'm going to get with Susie to make a plan for online payments. And then I will also see if I can pull together notes for our June 18th special meeting. Did I miss anything?
The new signage, the signage that was requested by the residents, that was passed around from Jenny Calder.
Yeah.
What do you want to do about that?
You able to get those, Bussy?
Well, I'll see what I can, we can get these signs.
Okay.
I'll just,
Okay.
Were you also talking about a draft ordinance for visible signage or visible addressing at homes?
That's what you were talking about, correct? Was the 7-inch letters and reflective, possibly?
Yep. Yes.
Yeah.
We'd like to see that.
I thought we moved forward with that.
I don't think it's ever put in.
No.
Well, we have to have an ordinance.
Yeah, we gotta get an ordinance first.
Just discussed and agreed that it was a good idea.
Yeah.
So we need to write that in as an ordinance.
What size is it? 7-inch reflective.
I'm gonna do it anyway, because everybody screws up on it. Because it's less.
motion on that, or you just gonna do it?
I'll draft it and it'll just be part of the,
Part of the application.
it's gonna be
Yeah, yeah.
part of the whole thing.
Water tower, I'll get a hold of the guy to do that, figure out what it is.
And the street signs, we're gonna take care of the ones that are missing first.
You want to find it in, and they already put something different, or- so we're gonna do that.
Not unless you guys wanna invest in that.
We're not gonna get backlit signs, so no.
Right. Like the low reflective ones, is that an option, or is that what those were at one point?
They would have to be one of those 6 inch letters that they reflect.
Gotcha,
Oh, so you are gonna have to redo that.
yeah,
Yeah, they have different signs.
But if-
it needs done. I
Whatever
mean, it
you
looked like-
get, Jay, make sure it's something that's not going out of business or
I
being
really like
discontinued.
that.
As long as it's compliant, I mean, that's all we have to have, right?
Well, we like to match when we get them. all.
Well, yeah, that's what I meant.
That's what I'm saying, you guys want to start changing it slowly,
They got pink. Be cute. Do pink signs. Black letters.
No,
Yeah.
now they're getting punchy. So we're almost done. It's, all right. Public comments.
Like some clarification on the water charge of that rate, it says first 2,000 gallons, 2460, so for 1,000 gallons, 2460 times.
Right. So I'm not the right person to talk to.
Next point, next 3,000 gallons, $9 more. What does that mean? Does that mean I go over 2,000?
Yeah.
gallons?
Once you trip over, then the
Does
rate
that
changes.
Does that go to 3,000 gallons?
Yeah, I think your baseline is 3,000.
That's what I'm saying. It's 2,000.
Oh, it's 2,000.
Then it says next 3,000. If I go over 2,001 gallon, they want to charge me, 20, almost $30 for 3,000 gallons of water.
So I don't know. So I'm not the right person to talk to about bills. Susie Bass is the right person to talk to about bills.
Mhm.
And the other thing is that they've just adopted a new ordinance and it was consistent with our old ordinance. So it may just be printed wrong on that bill.
That's what I said. It's confusing. It's different, and I really don't like it. So first 2,000 gallons, 2460. Oh, $24. They said no.
So
So it's kind of
again, so
But I'm
you're
just-
looking at the secretary. Look at them.
I would like some clarification on that because, I mean, if I go over 2,000 gallons, and go to 2,100 gallons, and I get charged for 1,000 gallons, in my mind, I'm holding 900 gallons of water that I didn't use.
Let me find the,
Okay, some of these numbers just really move around on me.
so I'm gonna find the ordinance so that you can read the ordinance. So the ordinance is how the bills are generated. So rather than that, but also, there are thresholds. So when you exceed a certain dollar amount, it trips into a different expense rate. But I don't know about the printout on the bill. I didn't see them.
I know they're set, and I'm used to it. I would go over 2,000, so I'm like,
It was confusing.
Yeah, I read through it. I actually read through it today and it was a little confusing.
It should go like,
Good.
It's kind of different.
Let me find the ordinances and then, let's see.
which is how.
See, that makes me also wonder, 2001, I said 50, I go 2001, 5,000, is that 6248?
When did we adopt
Pretty
it?
sure that's what it
May.
should look like on that when they send it out. You know what I mean?
I know. I really don't know. It's one of those things where,
I'm almost pretty certain.
I don't think it's on top of, I think it's your rate goes to the higher rate for the whole amount and not.
Well, that's what I said. I just-
Well, did you calculate the dollar amount that you were asked to pay compared to what it says?
That's the next bill.
It says next bill.
Yeah, it starts
Next
next.
bill, next.
Oh, I didn't realize. I thought you were looking at a bill.
No, it's
I mean, I don't know what you have in your hand.
What we need is clarification on the new rate.
Yeah, just to understand it, a sample might be good. So if you used X amount of gallons, it would be, so it was just a little bit difficult.
Just a minute.
Okay.
4122. I remember when that changed. The very first time I looked at it, it said, some under 20, little over $20. Then I looked at the really tiny type underneath and said, for 1,000 gallons. And my water bill went from $41 to $113. I'm sorry.
I'm not. Yeah, it was about $15 more.
Pretty much it's gonna equal out to be, long story short, it's gonna equal out to be about $15 more per month than what you have been paying. So if you've been using 2,000 gallons, your bill's gonna go up roughly $15.
I mean, and it also bothers me if I use under 2,000 gallons, it's still so much I'm running water. But I get it, but like I said, I just want some clarification on it. Also, does every house in town actually have a septic tank?
Yes.
Should.
But you might share it with someone.
Some houses might share it, Tank.
I've lived here for 17 years, didn't know that. I had no clue.
Yours might have gotten covered up like
I
ours.
didn't know that either.
I don't know, I know there's a big cover in my backyard.
And that's it.
But I thought it was part of the sewer system.
Well, it is.
I didn't realize it was a septic.
It's a solids tank for our sewer system.
So,
And they maintain it for you.
okay, well, that was the next question is, I don't have to deal with that at all, right? No? Okay.
I think we've got on last year.
Okay, all right, good one. No, that was all, I just wanted some clarification for this.
All right.
No problem.
We'll make sure we
Any other
get that
questions?
cleared.
Yeah.
Glad to see getting that thing cleaned up, and boy, I didn't realize how bad the water system was. I gotta run, thank you, I appreciate it, sorry. Gotta run.
You took care of the kids the other night. You had to talk with some boys the other
Were
night.
you in town?
No, you
So
didn't.
there's probably somebody there. Yeah. Had somebody in charge of the green going badge on my porch.
Oh, you guys got hit too?
Yeah.
Our neighbor
I
did
caught
too.
him.
Yeah, they
Really?
caught him. I saw him.
When I
Got-
I
called
called
it
it in,
in,
and he caught him and talked to him.
I talked to him. I
Gotcha.
called it in, and next thing you know, they didn't come talk to me, but I saw him down my road, about half an hour talking to him. Like, don't go messing around with this stuff like that.
Yeah.
You don't know who's armed, not armed.
Across the street from
anything.
us.
And I'm sorry, I am
Like 2
armed.
years ago, somebody broke out the window.
Yeah.
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 So, I just want to take care of it, you know, I don't want something that's stupid.
We got pictures of the kids too.
Any other public comments? What was the range when the cleanup supposed to start?
Between the 22nd and the 24th.
It sounds like the goal is the end of the
Ish.
month. That's the
Yeah.
bottom line. It sounds like
Yeah.
the goal is the end of the month.
I had an unimportant question, just out of curiosity. Does anybody know what the old bar building was before it was an American Legion? Or how I can figure that out?
Before it was a Legion?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So was it built as an American Legion then?
I believe so.
That's all I've heard, so I just wanted to double check. See if anybody knew what fire, like how the fire started there. Because when we've been fixing things up, when we opened up the ceiling, all of the old, there's like basically a burnt section where they had fixed it up before. And I wondered if there's anything that happened way back when.
She's been here since '70s. And she tells me all this stuff, but I guarantee you, I can't remember.
Yeah, that
You
building's been
know,
through a
ladies
lot.
sometimes remember. Yeah, you walk it
So, all right, so we're talking about water?
I just want to clarify on that.
All right, is this,
Talking
that's
to my
sewage?
County Sewer District, I wasn't insinuating as we go on with them.
That is
So they might be-
Yeah.
Where we got it.
Where it
Well,
is.
but that's how they're always set up. It was set up.
I understood what you're,
Yeah, but.
I understood exactly what you're saying.
You get what I'm saying? Like.
Because when you said that, I thought of giving John a call and saying, hey, you know, what kind of resources do you have that you could help us out? Can't hurt to ask.
Something that said that, but I can't remember
Right,
the ordinance.
right.
Doesn't hurt to ask.
Just
No,
something.
I understood what you're saying.
We might make it
Um,
just so it's,
Any other
You've always-
public
always-
comments?
always-
I get it, but just because I've always been confused doesn't mean we need to leave it.
Well, yeah.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good, meeting adjourned. Knew that. That's what I was trying to do.
And,
Hey,
and.
no, I just.